Bentley here, host of the Social 333 podcast. Our guest today is Scottie Gassner. Welcome, Scottie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
awesome. Thanks for being on the podcast. To the audience out there, tell them a little bit about yourself.
My name is Scottie Gassner. I am a functional aging specialist and avid sneakerhead on the side.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what a functional aging specialist is, because I know a lot of my audience probably doesn't know what that is.
So, as we age, you're not just aging physically, but you're also aging mentally. And so, what I do with my clients is try to interweave all those things to help them age well. I work with people from 13 years old to my oldest client right now is in their 80s. I've had someone pass away from old age under my care.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I just try to help people. I mean, your life's a long time, hopefully, right?
Right.
And I try to help people just like enjoy it as much as they can because their body feels good and their mind feels good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm getting up to, what am I, 47 now?
Ooh.
It's crazy. And like I get into different things. Obviously, I played football. I was in mixed martial arts for a long time. Back then, I had like karate and stuff. So um, my body's pretty beat up. And then you get also into like the mental head space, which is something that I think is like really overlooked, especially when you get into the older years, because you end up in like loops and different things. Talk a little bit about somebody, because we have a lot of like entrepreneurs, business owners. Myself personally, like you go through these bouts of I don't have time to go work out, like I don't have time for a mental check or therapy or just have somebody like helping you. Kind of describe to me like, or even the audience, like somebody that's an entrepreneur or business owner doesn't have time, like what can you benefit from, like obviously the mental health and the physical exercise.
I mean, your mental health and your physical health is where everything starts. How you go out and make a lot of money is how you show up to do your job. And I love basketball. And I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, but I mean, everybody knows Kobe. And everybody knows Kobe ain't skipping practice. Kobe's making time for all the things that make him great. So, as an entrepreneur, as someone anyone, you should be investing into yourself to bring the best of you every single day because that's when you're going to get the best return.
I agree. I mean, I go through these bouts, like I said, where like I just don't work out, and then I feel bad, and then I go through bouts where like I work out twice a day, and it's usually really dependent on the weather. But what have you seen, and what do you recommend for people to keep their mind sharp and like get motivated to exercise? And like I know for me, once I start seeing results from the gym or I start working out and I start seeing results, then I'm like, oh, like it's on now. But usually, like it takes a couple of days before you actually kind of see it. And if you're not with the trainer, if you're not doing the right stuff, it could take even longer. So, like, kind of walk me through something like that.
You know, the main part of my job is bringing awareness to my clients about what's going on in their life that they can't see and making sure that they're consistent. You know what I mean? So, when you talked about like, oh, like I'll skip for a while and then I'll go twice a day. Well, that's just a lot of like kind of making up that lack of consistency, right? So it sounds to someone that's a high performer, it sounds so just so not high performing to go on a walk,
Right.
right? But walks not only they're not only a great benefit for your body and your mind, but they help keep consistency, right? And when you're talking about performing at a high level, keeping that going, your consistency around what you do. So it's like, are you are you trying to just put something in your schedule for yourself every day, right? Because like if you're going to be your best self, you have to be investing into you some part of some time. So where are you going to put that? It might not be you might want to put in, 2 hours and you might only have 15 minutes. So what's the most valuable thing you can do with that 15 minutes? You could sit and meditate with yourself, sit and be with yourself, right? Or you go on a walk, or you could just bust out like a quick like kettlebell workout or just something that reinvests into you so that you can go be that best version, make that money, manifest those goals. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I learned is I follow a lot of David Goggins stuff, and I'm sure a lot of
Love
other
David
people
Goggins.
do
Yeah.
as well. And like a lot of it is just really like mental game. It,
100%.
and I'll do some of like the toughest workouts just so I can get to that point in my head where I'm like, God, this sucks.
Right.
And like, let me do more of it.
Right.
Let me just get after it. And it's a fun because once you're done and you had that goal of, let's say, doing 25, and you do 26, and then you do that goal and you're like, wow, like that was awesome. And
Right.
your day starts like so much better and
You,
your outlook starts so much better.
well, you're proving to yourself that you have worth. You're investing into yourself, right? You're challenging yourself. These are all things that are very important, especially as we age, right? Most people as they age, they want to get more comfortable, they want to stay at home, they don't want to go anywhere, they don't want to interact with people. And that's one of the biggest things I coach with my older clients. I'm like, you got to go do something. Just go out and do something, say hello to people, interact, because that social aspect starts to get so hard for them. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about like emotions and affecting aging. Like we were just talking about that a little bit. Like depression, fear. I mean, we're all guys, right? We
Right.
all don't want to talk about that. We're all strong and big, and well, I'm not so big, but you know, you get it. Like everybody's like big and tough, but um, at the end of the day, like we all have emotions. We all have those like 5 emotions or whatever it is that's out there, and like that's really bad stuff when you get into like a headspace of just depression or um, fear, anything like that. Like, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what do you recommend for somebody like that?
So I had this client. I mentioned it before. This client, Dave. He started working with me when he was 79. He passed away when he was 91.
Oh.
And at the end of his life, what really got to him was his head. Right? He got really, really depressed. A lot of his friends are dying. He doesn't have any friends, no social interaction, and stuff like that. So mentally, he just like kind of collapsed. Right? And I think that for him coming from a totally generation, he was in World War II, right? Totally different generation. I was his safe space to talk about things. You know what I mean? Him ask me questions about the current world that he didn't understand, make him feel more connected. And so I hope that, as guys, each one of us could find someone that we feel safe to share those emotions with so that it can get out and process,
Mhm.
and your guy friend or whoever it is doesn't have to say anything, right? Just show up and kind of be there so that maybe your ears can hear it and you can work through it, being a space for your friends. I try to do that a lot with my friends because, I mean, we're all going through something and I care about these people, right? And
Right.
so, I'll call, say on Facebook, like somebody looks like they're kind of doing bad. I'll just shoot them a text. Oh, hey man, everything cool? You want to get lunch, coffee, something? And just sit and talk with them. And a lot of times because of who I am, I've picked up on something. And so I try to be a space for them because they're my friends.
That's really good. I know me personally, like I'll go out and just if something's bothering me, I'll go out and say something to somebody, and even if they say something, don't say anything, but like it'll just me like hearing it, like processes it differently in my brain.
Yeah, because like, okay, so like example for me, I read a lot of books, but I don't read one book. I do all audiobooks because I probably have some form of dyslexia or something. And my ears, that's why I take in information is through my ears. And so even when I go back and I review old podcasts or I'm listening to books or whatever it is, I hear it differently when it's being recorded and put back to me, even if it's my own voice, right?
Mhm.
So there's something about hearing it with your own ears that allows you to bring it in a different way other than like reading.
Right. Talk to me about living with purpose. I know that's like a really big thing for you. I know some of the audience probably has heard it as like a buzz term or something like that. Like, tell me about that. Like, what does it mean to you?
I'm lucky enough that at least I feel like I'm lucky enough that I get to live my purpose. Like, you know what I mean? Helping others is kind of my purpose. Holding that space and trying to help bring awareness so they can have a better life. That like is my purpose. And, for a lot of people, their purpose is their job, but hopefully in some form of their life, they have found some sort of purpose, whether it be like giving back in a way, going to church or whatever else they do, right? And that just makes your life more rich. I think when you're connected to your purpose, you're connected to the bigger thing that's spinning this rock around, and I think that as we get older, without a sense of purpose or belonging, you start to feel really separated and isolated, and then your mind goes, and then your health goes, and your body goes. It just kind of falls along.
Oh yeah. Um, I mean, all of it is kind of like all lumped together. Like you gotta have exercise, you gotta have the right mental space, you gotta have, just a purpose in your life. What do you wake up and want to do every single day? I think that like really moves you and moves whatever you're trying to do like to the next level. I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always hated despised jobs, and I always just built something, and over and over and over and over. I just kept building, and like I learned mistakes from one, and I built another one, built another one. It wouldn't be like rapid fire, but eventually, like it would be, one would stick for a little bit or longer, and then it just it gave me a reason to wake up. And then when I had agents on my team, I still do. Even when I first started out, I had agents, and like me knowing that somebody relied on me every single day was something that I had to like. I didn't mind waking up at 7:30 in the morning every single day.
You
Or
gave back.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it, right?
all right.
Yeah.
So I was like every day I was just motivated to wake up and work. Um, what do you really see in terms of like obstacles? I mean, I talked about myself and like how I kind of do it, but what are some common obstacles you find with people that just like lack purpose? Like they just struggle. Maybe, something happened in their life, maybe a divorce, maybe, life is crazy, right? So maybe something happened. Like, what do you really see are like some common obstacles that people face that like they just cannot, just wake up and get going every single day?
You already kind of touched on it. Like when someone has like a major life event that kind of crushes them in a way they weren't expecting or weren't like planning for. Sometimes that can put them in a space that they can't see purpose or reason for living, right? Like I mean, we've heard all these kinds of stories. And so with my clients, you know, again, it's back to that consistency of being with them, talking to them, getting to talk things out, get them to be aware of the things that they're saying out loud that they're not even, like we talked about, not hearing with their ears, right? And so a lot of times with my clients, when I get them to actually like talk about what they're doing, stuff like that, you find that there's purpose deep inside them. They've just buried it under some event, some trauma, some tragedy or something like that. Usually,
Yeah, it's just life is so crazy. You run into so many different things, and then sometimes like whatever happens in your life gets derails the rest of your life. And you get into this bad spot, and that's where I really think that exercise and like mental health and just talking and being social with other people really helps. Uh,
if you don't mind, I got divorced like about like 4 or 5 years ago, right? And it crushed me. I had waited until my 40s to get married. We were together for like 6 years, married for like a year and a half, right? And I really hit what is currently my bottom floor. That's as low as I could go. And at that moment, I felt like I had two things. I could wallow in this, or I could just create my world the way I wanted it, because I was ultimately free at that moment. And then you fast forward, and I have a wonderful girlfriend, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and we have a wonderful life because I put that energy into it under that tragedy and didn't just fold. Found purpose, and then got this bigger purpose with my daughter, which is amazing.
yeah, it is really amazing because energy can't be destroyed. It can only be manipulated or moved. So you just kind of basically moved and manipulated the energy.
Yeah, it's mine, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I can do what I want with it. I think sometimes people, they have all that power and energy, and they just hand it over to other people.
I see that a lot with like breakups.
100%.
Like some of you will have a bad breakup. If it's a guy, it's even worse because guys take forever to like, deal with not.
Because they don't deal with it. We just go straight out to hooking up with other girls or just putting our mind somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's just like you take that energy and you put it somewhere else, and it's like not a good thing a lot of times. Um, like alcoholism and stuff like that. Let's talk about get back on the subject of exercise
Yeah,
because I like
sorry.
talking about a lot of that stuff. In terms of exercise, like what kind of like misconceptions are you seeing out there? Like what kind of stuff? Because exercise is like around everywhere. I mean, you can turn on IG and see people doing exercise. What kind of like misconceptions? I know because I go to the gym here and there, and like I'll I'll go and see some stuff that I'm like, I can't believe like people are really doing this, or like they'll see something on Instagram about something crazy. Um, but like what kind of misconceptions are you finding, especially with like the older demographic?
You know, strength training is great. And I see a lot of, we'll say, oh, I'm almost 50, right? So we'll say I see a lot of guys my age and maybe a little bit older, right? That have a lot of muscle mass. Fantastic, right? But they move so poorly. If there was a zombie apocalypse, they'd be screwed, right? And so I think the biggest misconception for like most people is they don't invest enough into like the actual preparation or taking care of their body, right? They just go and they murder it, right? And you have to take care of it while you're running this machine. You have to take care of it too. And as I got older, especially working with like Dave, I really realized the importance. I don't want to say the importance of stretching. That sounds like so cliche, but the importance of mobility in your body is so important because it's literally the way you function. And if you want your muscles to work well for you, if they're not starting in the right position, how the hell are they going to get you into the best position and have your body work the best? So, I don't want to say I do a lot less lifting, but I do a little bit less lifting. I do a little bit more stretching, and that's tough. That's tough as a guy. Guys don't like stretching. We don't like foam rolling. We don't like flossing our teeth. None of that.
I have to stretch. If
You
and
have to. Everybody does.
for whatever reason, and I think I know, like I just have a lot of stress on my like shoulders and stuff like that. And if I go do anything and I don't stretch, like I'll be out and I'll hurt my shoulders, and I'll be out for 2 or 3 weeks of just not being able to lift or do anything, not be able to move a mouse. Like it's been real bad. Um, and that kind of leads me to the whole like somebody that's been injured, or somebody that has like mobility issues, or somebody that has like something like that. Kind of like, do you tailor something to that, or do you um just have like let them kind of like dictate what you want to do? Like how does that work for you?
So it's interesting. I'll give you a scenario. I have two clients right now that both have bum toes, which is like it's their big toe, and you would think, it's just your toe. It doesn't have a big impact on you, but that one toe impacts your foot, your knee, your hip, your shoulder, like all the way up. It's the foundation of your body, right? And the fact that for both of them, it's a lack of mobility in the joint, right? So the solution is I can't fix the toe, but I can make everything around it incredibly mobile. So there's not so much pressure on the toe, right? So anytime you get injured or anytime you have a surgery, you have now permanently changed your body structure from whatever it was, right? And that means there's going to be a new normal. And that new normal might include more work around that area that got messed up because you're having to maintenance it more because something happened there. You know what I mean? And I think when people get injured, they just kind of go right back to whatever they're doing. Like, that's how you got there in the first place, my man.
Right.
So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also like if you hurt, like I hurt my hip, so now like my other hip's stronger than my one that's hurt, and I have to like work both, but equally. But I have to work. It's just like it's a weird kind of dynamic because then you end up like kind of hobbling and doing different things, and it's like it sucks.
Hey, I want to go back real quick to you were talking about stretching your shoulders. If I had to guess, that's probably also where you carry your stress. Like when you're
Yeah,
stressed out,
in
you
my back.
in
Yeah.
your back and your
Hmm.
shoulders, right? So it's twofold when you're doing that. It's not only that it's stretching your physical body, but it's hopefully it's pulling mental stress off your body, right? And that's an easy example of like how this works together. It's not separate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like that's honestly, like working out is probably like one of my best times of the day because it's like I get half an hour of like not having to focus on anything but myself and exercising and relieving stress and thinking about what I want to do. It's just like kind of a clean slate, which is fantastic.
I have in my everyday, I plan roughly an hour and a half. Okay. What happens in that hour and a half doesn't really matter. It's my hour and a half, right? Now, sometimes I get it's hijacked by emergencies or my daughter or something like that. But in that hour and a half, I put whatever I want that day. So like say I have like some work I need to do and it's external, like extra work outside my regular work. Well, I just put it into that hour and a half, or that's my workout, or that's my walk, or that's my meditation. But I make sure that every day I'm scheduling something for myself. Like I'm scheduling stuff for everybody else. What about me? You know?
I agree. Um, and that kind of gets me to the next thing, which I think is going to help. I don't want you giving away like the special sauce, but like I just want you to like kind of like tell the audience like something like a nugget, something that would not only help them like in their mental, but like their physical space, whether it be like counseling, whether it be coming to see you, whether it be some sort of exercise. Like, give us something good.
Oh man, I always tell people that like I would love to have a bunch of fancy answers, like like Dr. Oz or something like that, all this cool stuff. But the majority of people that I see and work with don't do the basics of things, right? So if I had to name one thing that everyone could probably do better, including myself, right? That would take care of your body physically and mentally, it's like sleep. Good quality sleep. And it's so underrated. And we run our bodies into the ground without sleep, right? And so sleep has become a huge priority for me because it's how I show up for my clients. It's how I show up for my girlfriend, my daughter. It's how I show up for my parents and everyone in my everyone I touch in my life is impacted by me and how I slept in a weird way, right? And so, it's not a secret sauce. Like I don't ever keep secrets. I don't have any secrets. You know what I mean? I share almost everything that I do, right? But because the point is, like, people come to me for a different reason. You know what I mean? I give homework. Like I give them all kinds of stuff to do. They don't ever leave, right? Because it's the engagement, the consistency, the mental awareness that I'm bringing to each session that makes like the impact. And if they get good sleep, we get better results.
Yeah, I find that as I got older, sleep was way more important. When I was younger, I'd be like, oh, like I go out, and back then I would drink, and I go drink and have parties, whatever, and then I'd wake up 2 or 3 hours later, like go throw up in the trash can and go to work, right? I mean, that was kind of like that was it,
Guilty.
and then I realized, like as I got older, that if I only slept like 3 or 4 hours, then like my whole day would be garbage. Like I would screw up. I wouldn't show up on appointments at times. I'd always ruin like very easy tasks just because I was so tired.
I read an article recently that said not getting sleep is the equivalent of being like hungover.
Mm.
Like the same kinds of feelings are, and I feel that like you've had jet lag.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel like, oh, like I'm hungover. Did you say you stopped drinking?
Yeah. I
How,
stopped drinking.
how long ago did you stop drinking?
Ooh, probably easily 15 years.
Do you even remember what your sleep was like before and what it's like now?
I was also addicted to caffeine.
Oh, okay.
So like, it was just a weird mix because I would get drunk and then I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna drink a ton of coffee, and then I'd try to like even it out a little bit, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I'm good to go to work for a while. And back then, I was like working on cars and stuff like that at dealerships and different places. So, like if just hung out underneath a car for a while, pretending I was changing somebody's oil, like it wasn't like a big deal. But as I got more into like running businesses and stuff, it was, so I couldn't do that anymore.
Alcohol. I've become this big hater of alcohol, and I drink occasionally. I have a drink like here and there. I do my podcast. I usually have like a drink on it, something like that. But even that, I don't drink other than those moments, and I'll go to bed that night and wake up the next day, and I'm like, golly, I can feel the impact of that one little glass of alcohol. It's like so crazy because I don't drink consistently. So
Let's talk about some of the funniest things you've seen at the gym because
oh
I've seen some funny stuff.
ma-
Um,
oh man, I used to work at a big box gym, and it was 24 hours a day. That might have been the name. I'm not saying it was. And it was an old queue. And so the gym was upstairs and the main floor is like downstairs. And we had a track that went around the outside. And I trained real early in the morning. And so I remember I was up there, and this is summertime, by the way. So I'm up there. It's like 5 in the morning, and there's this dude in like full sweatpants and like a full length jacket, like jumping equipment, like jumping over benches, over benches, over benches, and then taking off around the track and like sprinting at like 5 in the morning. And I was like, I want whatever he's got. Like, what is he on? Like, that is crazy. I mean, I've had clients that we'll just say like when they're straining, maybe the noises that came out didn't sound like straining noises, but more like sexual noises, and that was always like kind of crazy. Or I had I've trained people long enough that they've accidentally like passed gas in front of me,
Mm.
and it's very awkward.
Mm-hmm.
At least the first time, it's very awkward. You know what I mean? Also, if you're passing gas in front of me, we need to talk about your stomach and your gut health. But I'm just,
I've seen some wild stuff. I mean,
What have you seen?
I've seen some fights over like
I've seen a
over
couple
equipments.
Yeah.
I've seen my true tale is if I know somebody's like serious about the gym is if they show up properly. What I mean by that is like they're not wearing flip-flops and sunglasses. Like they're just in there,
Or jeans and cowboy boots.
yeah, and they're just in there like benching with flip-flops on. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting.
That's an option.
Yeah.
Not an option I'd pick, but that's an option.
I've just seen some wild stuff.
I think, the wildest thing I'm not in gyms very much anymore. I have a couple clients that I do in a gym, but the weirdest thing that I've really seen lately, and this is not going to be any surprise, is like people setting up like full cameras and like filming. And like, I get it because of the world we're in, but also like, I don't get it because like when I work out, one, I don't have time for that. And two, like there's other people around trying to this is a public space, man. And it's like, it just feels like, this is just me being an old man. It feels like kind of disrespectful to the people there and the people in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, build your own gym and film at home. Like,
yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of that and like a lot of, getting really dressed up and trying to present themselves properly or improperly and then go to the gym to film them working out so they can put it on Instagram so somebody can like it. I've just seen a lot of that. I've also seen like a lot of dudes like lifting heavy and showing that off on Instagram. So I've just seen like both sexes, but yeah, it's a very interesting thing.
It's kind of like if I log into anybody's social media, I usually get a gamut of something like this: working out, pictures of your kid, pictures of your food, or pictures of your face, right? So I think we can fairly say we've all seen enough of those.
Yeah.
Just stop doing that. Do something more interesting. No, by the way, no one likes my social media. Like, I have social media that no one likes because I post the things that inspire me. I'm not trying to purposely post things to get likes. I don't even know how many likes I get on my page because I look at my page as an expression of like who I am, right? And I feel like that in that little bit, if someone could have more of that aspect about their social media, that like it's not to get likes, it's to show people who you are, that we'd be a lot healthier mentally, right? But we're spinning it. We're coming from a totally different direction.
Yeah, it's like an online resume for your business too.
Yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me, your social media, you're exactly like your social media, and I've never been so happy. I also don't really kind of care about social media. I use it,
Right.
but like for someone to say that like my social media came off authentically to them, I mean that's kind of what I'm all about, is being my most authentic person. So it was cool to have somebody say that.
Nice. Let's wrap it up. Where can they find you, Scottie?
You can go to heyjustbe.com and find everything. Everything is there. You don't have to go anywhere else. heyjustbe.com. You can find my podcast. You can find my coaching, everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. Enjoyed it.
Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, you take care.
Thanks.
All right.